Look, let's be honest. When you think of global supervillains, your mind probably jumps to a few usual suspects. When we think of a global threat, our minds might jump to a cartoonishly evil dictator, or maybe a tech billionaire who wants to upload our consciousness into a smart toaster. But while we've been watching fictional villains, a real-world drama has been escalating. And right now, today, on September 1st, 2025, one of the most significant and frankly terrifying players on the world stage is Iran. Yes, Iran. A nation that for many is a confusing mix of images. The ruins of the mighty Persian Empire, the strict religious rule of the Ayatollahs, and news headlines that are almost impossible to understand without a political science degree. But here's the thing. While we've been distracted by everything else, Iran has been quietly or not so quietly building a formidable military machine of advanced drones and ballistic missiles that is making a lot of very powerful people very, very nervous. To understand why Iran is so prickly, so defiant on the world stage, you need to understand its history, a long tragic story of foreign powers meddling in its affairs. Back in 1953, Iran had a democratically elected leader, Mohammad Mossadegh. He had the radical idea that Iran's oil should belong to the Iranian people, not foreign corporations. Britain and the US then orchestrated a coup to overthrow him. They installed the Shah, a monarch friendly to their interests. But that foreign-backed rule bred resentment, which exploded in the 1979 Islamic Revolution. The Shah was out. Ayatollah Khomeini was in. The US Embassy in Tehran became the world's most stressful long-term hotel for 52 American diplomats, held hostage for 444 agonizing days. This was the point of no return. For America, Iran became the face of radical anti-Western sentiment. For Iran, America became the great Satan, the source of its problems. This isn't a simple trade dispute, it's a deep-seated animosity built on decades of coups, hostage crises, sanctions, and accusations. In the great schoolyard of international politics, Iran hasn't been sitting alone at the lunch table. It has found a couple of very big, very powerful friends. Let's start with Russia. They work together in Syria to prop up the Assad regime. Russia provides Iran with advanced military hardware, fighter jets, air defense systems, that raise the cost of attacking Iran. In return, Iran supplied Russia with infamous drones used in Ukraine, a classic you-scratch-my-back situation. Then there's China. China's interest is more economic and strategic. In 2021 they signed a 25-year cooperation deal covering energy, infrastructure, and military collaboration. That gives Iran diplomatic cover, access to technology, and an economic lifeline that weakens sanctions. This turns a regional troublemaker into a global problem, raising the stakes to potential great power confrontation. Alright, let's talk. The thing that makes everyone in a suit in Washington, Brussels, and Jerusalem break out in a cold sweat: Iran's nuclear program. Nothing, and I mean nothing, escalates tensions faster than the possibility of a new member joining the nuclear club. They've enriched uranium far beyond civilian needs, dangerously close to weapons grade. The 2015 JCPOA was meant to put this genie back in the bottle. In 2018 the US pulled out, sanctions snapped back, and Iran ramped its program up. Today experts call Iran a threshold state, weeks away from enough fissile material if it chose to. Syria, Saudi Arabia says if Iran gets a bomb they will too. Then Turkey or Egypt. A regional nuclear arms race would be catastrophic. Missteps become infinitely more dangerous. Israel says it will never allow Iran to go nuclear, implying readiness for preemptive action. The nuclear question isn't just political, it's a ticking clock. Iran has perfected a particularly nasty form of modern warfare. It's called proxy warfare. The concept is, brutally simple. Why risk your own soldiers and treasure when you can fund local groups, train local groups, arm local groups to do your fighting for you? This approach gives you plausible deniability while still achieving your goals. Iran has cultivated a network of these proxy militias across the Middle East, creating what they call the axis of resistance. Lebanon, Hezbollah, Syria, Iraq, Yemen. Hezbollah is armed to the teeth by Iran with tens of thousands of rockets and precision missiles aimed at Israel. In Iraq, militias frequently target US forces. These proxies allow Iran to project power at arm's length, but these groups are not perfectly controllable. A rogue attack could trigger a much wider conflict. If you were to design the perfect geographical location to hold the global economy hostage, you probably couldn't do better than the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest, it's just 21 miles wide, a critical choke point for global trade. About a fifth of the entire world's daily oil consumption passes through this strait, along with a huge volume of liquefied natural gas. vital for heating homes and powering industries. And Iran sits right on its northern shore, with its Navy and Revolutionary Guard constantly patrolling. They can harass foreign oil tankers or seize them, as they've done multiple times. They can lay naval mines to make passage treacherous, use coastal anti-ship missiles, or swarm warships with fast attack boats in a display of asymmetric power designed to counter larger navies. Imagine negotiations collapse and the United States imposes draconian sanctions cutting off Iran's oil exports. An Iranian commander fires a missile at a tanker from a U.S. allied nation. The tanker erupts in flames and blocks the channel. The price of oil doubles overnight. Global stock markets plummet. Insurance premiums skyrocket, effectively closing the strait to commercial traffic and triggering a global recession. Any military action to reopen the strait would mean striking Iranian soil, an act of war that could provoke massive retaliation. Iran has vowed to respond by targeting U.S. bases and allies in the region, potentially igniting a devastating widespread conflict. History is littered with massive wars that started with a tiny, seemingly insignificant event. In the hyper-tense environment of the modern Middle East, the potential sparks are everywhere. Proxy attack, limited strike, retaliation, regional war, global conflict. Imagine a drone launched by an Iranian-backed militia in Iraq targets a United States consulate and kills several American diplomats. The president orders a limited, proportional airstrike against the militia's command center, but the strike kills Iranian Revolutionary Guard advisors present. Iran launches ballistic missiles at a U.S. airbase in the UAE. Now the dominoes are falling fast. Allies get involved, the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and a regional firefight becomes multi-front. Global oil shipments stop, the world economy tumbles, great powers are forced off the sidelines. When a conflict of this magnitude erupts, the world doesn't stand by and watch. Countries are forced to pick sides, driven by alliances, economic interests, and historical grievances. On one side, the United States and its traditional allies, UK, France, Germany, NATO, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Japan, South Korea. On the other side, Iran and the axis of resistance, Russia, China, Assad, Hezbollah, militias in Iraq, Houthis, and others. Then there are the wild cards, India, Turkey, Brazil, middle powers whose choices could be decisive. This is about supply chains, diplomatic support, and the global balance of power, not just troops on the ground. The world would be divided and the stage would be set for a truly global confrontation. So, after all that doom and gloom, it's easy to feel powerless, like extras in a disaster movie we never auditioned for. The headlines make conflict feel inevitable. The pieces are all there for a catastrophic global conflict centered on Iran. Deep-seated historical grievances, a web of dangerous alliances, the ever-present nuclear clock, proxy armies, and vulnerable economic choke points. In this volatile environment, a single miscalculation could set off an uncontrollable chain reaction. It's the classic sleepwalker scenario, where nations stumble into a war they never intended to fight. But none of this is inevitable. The very same interconnectedness that raises the stakes so high also provides powerful tools to prevent it. Diplomats can always talk, leaders can establish secure back channels, agree on clear red lines and use de-escalation mechanisms, but these tools require genuine political will. It requires immense courage for leaders to step back, choose difficult dialogue over easy confrontation, and resist the siren song of domestic jingoism. The mechanisms for de-escalation exist because history is not yet written. The responsibility falls squarely on world leaders to consciously choose peace over escalation, and they must make that choice now, because once a fire of this magnitude starts, it will be far too late to put it out. If you found this deep dive useful, subscribe for more analysis like this.